remember?
I'm the
Oh,
public.
yeah, I always have him down. Excuse me.
Oh, so this is this is sole response to
Yeah.
the thing?
I didn't get read our response yet. That's usually, Steve would have emailed it to us.
Yeah.
Alright, what you got?
I think she went to get something that she needs.
Well, it wasn't good, is that thing on?
Yes, she turned it on before she
Okay,
left.
well then why don't we get this thing, this party started here. I've got 7:02, we'll open on the meeting at 7:02, full board present. Town administrator, recording secretary, present as well. We'll just start with the old minutes, anybody wanna
Sure.
take them? You do?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the selectmen's minutes from June 2nd, 7:07 PM as written.
Second.
Alright, we got a motion and a second, any discussion?
I'm good.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
There you go, sir. Here's John Hancock, and yours.
Sorry, I have
No
one more thing.
problem, we just did the minutes while you were out and
Yeah.
about. Public comment?
Not yet, no.
Well then,
I'll wait till later.
we might cancel ladies. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Alright, hearing no public comment, we're gonna close the public comment. Just wanna see if you're awake.
Oh, I'm awake. Maybe later I won't be.
Oh, now second thought, we'll have public comment later. Alrighty, I've got, Joel Fisher's recommendations for library roof enforcement is the only thing on the new business that we have right now.
Yep, and I'm glad I went back because I had asked him questions based on this. I made 2 copies, in case you wanna look at it in detail. And I was able to contact, my husband who's familiar with some of this. And he explained that is clearly just a build plan, or also known as a bid plan, that there should be a final plan to follow.
Absolutely. They'll either be stamped and sealed and
Correct.
sealed.
He explained, some of the notes that I put on there, that there are dimensions that should be listed, it's looking like it's a minimum of a 2-week, work for the construction part of it with 2 people. He says he's not sure if he would recommend that the town use volunteers, he doesn't know how capable they would be able to do it. And again, there were a couple of the, dimensions, like the steel plate, that was 4x4, that probably will not fit through the scuttle hole. Depending on how long the LVLs, those will be more costly pieces, along with, the lengths of them could be problematic in getting them up, depending on how long they are. And then with this information, before I spoke to my husband, I asked him, do you have an estimate of the cost for the work to perform to date? Do you feel follow-up is needed for the construction plan installation? Will you have a report, or is it all noted on the plan? Cause I hadn't looked at it at all. And he responded, I've spent about $4,000 to date. I still have to review the design and maybe spend some time on figuring out what we can do about the headers. I definitely need to make a couple of site visits during the construction unless you can get Jeff to do it. I should have at least 2,000 left over, assuming I make the site visits. I don't plan on issuing a report unless you want one. All the information is needed for construction on the drawings. Feel free to call me. So those were good questions. I guess he answered my questions. Just forwarded him when I went back there.
So he's not issuing another set of plans, or?
Oh, he will.
Oh.
Another set of plans, but no report other than
Gotcha.
what's noted on the plan.
And this here is just those notes,
A
right?
snapshot, yeah, and then after talking to my husband, he said there's no need to read that in detail. It's just standard,
Standard words, boilerplate.
boilerplate, language for
Yeah.
notes.
Okay. Fine.
So unfortunately, what my husband had quoted, and you see on the second page of that one with the highlights, is some of the costs
This is-
that would be involved,
Response to, yeah.
if you
Does
can
he
read my
say?
squiggly.
It'd be kinda nice to know what is new and what is not new on here, as in what's existing. I'm assuming the dark lines are the new, and the heavier lines are the new
Okay,
construction.
the
Yeah.
darker lines are new,
I
yeah,
believe so.
Yeah, I would, that makes sense to me.
That's what, I'm familiar from seeing, but it doesn't really, a lot of times I'll put notes on saying this is, this is new, that's new, whatever.
okay, so you want clarity on the what's
On
new,
what's
what's new,
new.
okay,
Well, and I can see, like, when he says on this, right here, in this thing where it says add, that arrow is going to that one, but
Right.
the other ones, it doesn't have that,
Right
other
here,
than,
these are just all kinda like,
right,
okay,
slate
and,
roof.
um,
Yeah, it doesn't really say that that's new, but you can make an assumption, this one detail.
and then obviously all the steel plates and the screws have to be custom made because they're made by a certain standard,
Right.
so.
oh, that's.
Well,
that's
he's talking
standard.
about timber lock screws, I think those are pretty standard,
Yeah,
aren't
they
they?
are.
Are they?
Yeah, I think, yeah,
They're not cheap though.
no, they're
No.
not, they're expensive, but I think that's just an off-the-shelf hardware
Yeah, they are.
kind
I
of,
use those myself.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of the steel here are just standard steel that they, you go to like those cones and you can get it cut.
Mhm.
Right.
Right,
The
right,
size. They
right.
might even be able to punch the holes in it for you too.
Larry did say that they typically do that, but he said I asked him, do you bring a plan like that to the steel? And they said, yeah, bring it in, they'll look at it,
Oh, yeah.
boom, 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 and just,
Absolutely. They should have a list of stuff and,
Yeah.
Well, you know what, this here is this,
correct,
S1, so
Yeah.
that does all look like new, construction, cause
Ties.
the holes, for the hardware.
yeah.
you
I
know.
don't remember seeing those
Mm.
things.
Yeah,
up
well,
there when I
that
was
to me
up
looks like it's all new.
there.
Right. Well, which part is new? I mean, because these four,
No, I think this here is existing, this one, this is existing,
going across,
cause it's this,
But you,
and then you got these,
then
which that all looks like
the
new.
center line is all gonna be new too, right?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, I think we're
Yeah.
kinda guessing a little bit, but that would be my
Mhm.
assumption.
and do you think it would be best for him to list the size of the materials and the number of of those timbers, or are we,
Yeah, I mean,
does a contractor typically know?
You should have a listing,
Yeah, materials
list.
list.
a materials list.
Yeah.
Of materials,
Yeah.
okay,
The other thing too is absent, I understand that, I mean, this is a working drawing, but there's no measurements.
Yeah.
no measurements.
Yeah, that's no,
I mean, granted, it says up here that, any contractor is gonna have to take and verify measurements, but you should have some measurements in
right,
there. Cause
Right.
when they go out to bid on this kind of stuff, they're gonna go by the plans, they're not gonna go up there and do their own measurements, when they get there, they will.
yeah, cause they're gonna trust that this is close.
Right, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it calls for a 10-foot piece, they get up there, I mean, they're gonna order probably a 12-foot piece, and, that
Right.
way they got a little wiggle room, and all of a sudden it calls for 14,
Mhm.
we got
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah,
So, I mean, he should be able to get it close, I think. I mean. That's the kind of details they're gonna wanna have for, I would think, if they're gonna bid on it. I think if whoever we have bid on this, we're gonna have to ask for qualifications, cause there's not any Joe Schmo getting up there
no,
and winging this. He's gonna have to have someone that's got some experience and skill in this kind of fabrication and construction, I think.
I'll disagree.
Is a-
And hopefully we can put some kind of a time frame that,
Yeah,
to
ASAP.
do, yeah,
As soon as we get this done, between now and the fall, so we can get,
Get the roof on.
oh, what's his name? Oh, I hate that, huh? Paul,
Paul,
thank you.
yeah.
I can picture him sitting right there, I can see his face, but I can't think of his name.
What was his name, I'm sorry?
Paul.
Paul, yeah,
Brusky or something.
Century Roofing,
Yeah, we gotta get, try to get this done, so in the fall, he can get up there and do his thing on the roof.
alright.
cause he's waiting in the wings for us
Yeah, he is.
patiently, and
So you think that this would not be adequate enough to start the bid process? I would have to come up with the final bid plan.
You know, you're gonna have somebody trying to
I
give you
wouldn't,
an estimate, trying to measure this,
Mhm.
even though it's a quarter inch equals a foot,
Yeah.
they're gonna go through all this,
Mhm.
when
yeah,
he should have measurements on there.
absolutely.
All right,
And this
so
is
that's
only
the
a
key.
progress
All
print,
right.
this isn't a stamp,
Right.
this isn't a stamped,
All right,
drawing, where, like you say, you have the materials list, you have the dimensions, and, you know, everything is there for him.
I mean, this is great for us to look at,
mhm,
but we're not engineers, so we
Yep.
don't know if he's right or wrong.
mhm,
I call these 90-95%
Yeah, I would say these are close.
yeah,
So, you know, like on my fuel sites, when I get plans, I'll get 30% plans and I'll get 95% plans. And then we go through them with a fine tooth comb, and then they'll fix everything, and then they come
okay,
100%
and
stamp.
so, because I'm just asking someone with, expert or background in this field, and he's giving me a $5,000 to $10,000 range, you feel we should put this out to bid, or should I get telephone quotes?
No, we're gonna need somebody to,
Well, telephone quotes would give the whole proposal of, you know,
Well, I don't know if you necessarily would say call bids, but I'd say,
I'm,
what the hell, I mean, we could try to pre-qualify some people while he's still working on this,
mhm,
yeah,
and then that way we can put it out and get, you know, have them already pre-qualified, they gotta hit the, you know, certain, you know, criteria, hit the
Well,
milestones.
so you definitely wanna see their, reference list,
Yeah.
insurances. Make
Yeah,
sure that they
there's
at least
nothing
have the equipment to do it, and the know-how.
There's nothing saying we can't pre-qualify a group of people, you know, just
Yeah.
put something out there, you know, this is what's coming up, this is, you know, just give them a good gist of it. I mean, you could send a picture along of this kind of thing, you know, or send the plans with them, this is what we're looking to do.
cause
and
in,
say
in
something.
town, we have Dave Stilson, Keith St. Pierre, so he's interested.
Yeah, but like I said, I'd like to know what they have for background.
Qualifications,
Yeah,
yeah,
like I say, I mean, someone that builds houses, that's great, but I mean, this is probably, you know, I mean. might
this
be
is,
fail.
this is a step up, this is above remodeling even.
Exactly.
Remodeling
Yeah.
is not the same as
No,
construction
And the other thing is, this is commercial versus
Mhm.
being
Right.
residential.
exactly, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
very
you're
good point.
using, you know, you're gonna use a different size lumber and everything, so,
Yeah, construction methods for that matter.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, how many residential people do you know that use steel plates and angle brackets and are lagging everything together and pulling it in?
What's the building post and beam?
No, that doesn't mean that you can't reach out
No.
and get a residential builder
Mhm.
that has commercial experience,
Right,
Absolutely.
you know, but it isn't a house builder's project.
No, maybe
Correct.
not. Somebody who does post and beam though might,
Hmm.
be able to handle this.
Okay, remember, a lot of this stuff is under stress right now, so you're gonna be going up there and trying to straighten it out and
mhm,
Right.
Yeah.
re-stress it, so I mean, someone's gonna have some experience with that too, because otherwise that, it could be very, very,
Make sure they have good
Lovely.
workers' comp.
yeah. Yeah,
so,
Cause you don't want the town to have to pay
I
for it.
have two in mind,
We
I'm
don't.
not sure if Tarani does this kind of
Mhm.
work, or if he just does,
no, we can ask them, I mean, if it's a, you know.
Yeah, put it in front of him, let him tell you, don't try to guess.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's above his pay grade, I mean, you know, then it is, so be it.
Well, you can even ask the people that you're talking to, if they say, hey, I can't do this, maybe they can point you in a direction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
True.
Those guys all know, you know, it's a network.
Well, I
how
got
about
no
Ralph
question.
Fulton?
he's a roofer,
Yeah, but he may know people who can do this, so,
oh, I could call him.
Absolutely.
just as a point of reference.
Yep. The headers over the doors, are we gonna include this with that, or not? 'Cause it
Depends.
really wasn't originally part of the scope of this. It was just kinda like they saw it and said, well,
Is that what they did, did they add that on, or is it something that
Well,
needs to be done?
if
to
you
the
look
road?
at the original sketch like that from Jeff Truxler,
mhm,
in very small print, there's a little thing saying that I have not been able to confirm the header sizes over the door, and when Bob and I were with the gentleman here, and that was new, I guess I didn't look
right,
at Jeff's design. And he had instructed us to move the insulation, not to, remove siding off the, so I scrambled to try to get a hold of a couple builders, and Bob recommended that I, just, see if we can reach Jeff and ask him how important is this, and, or what exactly did he mean by his note on his plan? And he answered, and he said, oh, he's there, I'll come by and talk to him. So he came by, and shortly thereafter, he left and came back. He said he had a scope and a drill kit and a ladder. So Jeff was nice enough to use his equipment, and they ended up, because they weren't able to access it from inside upstairs, went out front and bore a hole this big with the camera, and they saw the dimension of the beam. It's the same thickness as the wall. It's not an oversized beam in any way. So that adds stress to the roof.
yeah, that's so that the roof can be carried and not compromise that, but I think Jeff mentioned that there might be a different way of handling it, or so it might be worth checking with Jeff.
I already forwarded it to him.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, cause that's what he says in his email. He says you might wanna forward this to Jeff, and he might have a clever idea of how to,
So if we don't, does that need to be done to do the roof, or is that to, ensure the integrity of the roof, is that?
Let's ensure the framing.
It's just turning to one can of worms after another.
Yeah,
No
big
kidding.
time, well, for the building.
I mean, you really wanna do it right, you don't wanna do it half-assed, 'cause it's just
You
gonna.
know, the unfortunate part is it was mentioned a few times as we went along,
Mhm,
but everybody was focused on getting a roof on the building,
mhm.
and I don't think they were listening to all of the message, and, maybe it's, evidently with two engineers looking at it, and two engineers finding there's some fault, we have to, I think we have to invest the money in doing that.
Well, does the, can any of this, can these be done next year? Because money's what I'm thinking about here, it's,
Mhm.
we're scrambling here to figure out.
Well,
what
the
to
problem
build.
is putting a roof on here with slate and not doing, even that, if that compromises the framing,
They have, Jeff said when he was with the, engineer, that he says, I'm recommending that this work be done before they install
Yeah,
the
yeah,
slate, and he said, and the other guy agreed, he said, absolutely, this should be done before.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty.
Gonna be an interesting project.
Well, so, just kinda recap here and re-wrap our heads around it. Are we okay with putting feelers out for pre-qualifications for someone that can,
I think so.
for contractors that are,
No, I think that's a good
Yes.
idea, Ron.
I think looking early before it's even
Yeah.
ready,
yeah.
Yep,
and then making them aware of what may be
Yeah.
coming up, and if they wanna take a look at the drawing,
Yeah, cause not knowing how long it's gonna take for us to find a
So
because
qualified
there's no
individual.
sense of supplying someone with something
Mhm.
if they're not gonna respond. That's
Right.
why, when they put something out to bid,
oh, it takes
the
time.
people
Yeah,
will pull the drawings that are interested,
Yep.
Mhm.
and some people might say, yeah, I'm interested, but never show up, never pull the drawings, so.
right,
So that being the case, everybody good with,
yeah.
forwarding on these progress prints, of course, make sure we say they're draft, they're, not for bid
Mhm.
purposes, they're just strictly informational
Yeah,
Yeah,
to whomever we give them out to. So that way at least they'll have an idea of the scope of what we're looking
Correct.
for.
and we're just trying to develop the interest, and if they're interested,
Yeah.
then they should start giving us information so that we can start to vet them out.
Well, at the very least, they have an idea of what they may be using
Yeah.
for materials.
Yeah.
They may be pricing ahead of time, so when it comes time to get a quote or a bid or whatever you wanna do,
Right,
is they'll be able to react a little
And you could
quicker.
call this a bidder's, pre-qualification RFQ or RFP.
yeah, well, it's actually really an RFQ, request
Yeah.
for qualifications.
Right,
But we're, but to get their qualifications, they gotta know what the
Right,
project
but I'm
is.
just saying, well, that's how you could advertise this, so that
Oh,
they,
absolutely.
you know, so they know that we're really looking at them as someone who has the capabilities versus, you know, what it costs to have it done.
Because
Yeah.
they gotta know what the scope of the
Right.
project is, because
Exactly.
otherwise that, any
Yep.
Joe Blow
Yeah.
can say, hey, sure, I can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Larry referred to this plan as a build
Mhm.
plan or bid plan,
Mhm.
so it's just strictly that, it's a
Yeah.
preliminary,
Yeah,
And,
I'd say these are like 95%.
yeah, yeah, these are close, but not done.
I can always talk to our contract folks at DOT and see what they, cause they deal with a lot of pre-qualification stuff, and see what they, you know, if they have like a specific format or sheet or something, might be able to help you, you know, throw that information.
oh, for ask a question.
Yeah, as in what to ask, or, you know, what, or how to, you know, rank them, I guess, would be also, you know, way to, you know, see if they make it grade or not.
Okay.
Cause I know when we in the DOT have a huge process on pre-qualifications.
Yeah, and I would think that for something like this, you'd want more than one
Oh,
reference.
yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You'd want like
Multiple references.
3, 4, 5 references minimum. you
And
know?
also include projects that they've done of similar scope and design, you know.
Yep,
Because, I mean, like, Bob, I think hit the nail on the head, this isn't residential, this is definitely like
Right.
commercial,
Yep.
industrial thing, kind of. I mean, it's like these top boards here, or what are you gonna call them? I mean, there's no dimensions, we don't even know what size lumber that is, so they couldn't bid on that if they wanted to. And they're only gonna be guessing.
mhm,
You know what kind of hardware to use, pointless, but.
yeah, that's kinda like,
But I mean, there's no dimensions here, I mean, this
Yeah.
should all have dimension, you don't have to have the dimensions here, I mean, they could easily
But
just
this
put
ought to
dimensions
have
right
it,
here,
right.
cause this is the detail for that,
right,
mhm.
so, you know, where's the dimensions?
yeah, but he's not done with these.
I mean, it's kinda easy to kinda get the dimensions, cause they have it right here on this,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm working on it.
but I mean, they gotta do the math, I mean, I wouldn't trust everybody having to do the math, they're gonna want the actual dimension themselves. It's only
You
fair.
need the architect's rule to put on there to gauge
Yep.
what your quarter inch, or what your foot is from the quarter inch,
Mhm.
you know?
Exactly.
Okay,
I was hoping for more, but, oh
it's alright,
Yeah.
the beginning.
And we get this via email, so it's easy to send it out to people,
well. Mhm.
so.
Just think of it, as soon as you get this done, we'll have something else for you.
Trust me, I'm working on those something else's. We had a busy week this week. You were part of it, joint loss.
Oh,
Yeah, how did that go?
Well,
I'm digressing a little bit.
actually, and I'm glad you gave me a copy so I can look at the two, but I think what it is looking at the new policy and amending some of what's in it
Mhm.
into what you have, you know?
Mhm, I agree. I don't think we should
Or
adopt
put
the
it
whole
this way,
thing.
put an addendum
Yes,
that includes that other stuff.
that's a good idea. Yeah, that way you're not changing everything
Right.
in there, you're just adding, yeah.
What are we talking about?
Well, some of the, information they're looking for is,
Back in March,
Mhm.
we have these quarterly, in
Yeah.
March, they had, Ron O'Keefe from
Mhm.
PLT come in and join us. He commended the town for the turnout, for the
Mhm.
regular meetings, for the things that we do during our meetings. And then he made some recommendations, and one of them was this code, what was it, 600 something?
Yeah.
Code,
Code 600.
yeah,
Oh, it's joint loss, all that is just the,
It's a s-
LAB 600.
right,
That's this administrative rules for joint loss meetings,
correct.
or committees and the meetings and such.
Right, but he said that we should I'm not sure
LAB
exactly what
1400.
was missing in ours that he made a recommendation, but he gave us the document to
Yep.
review and
Mhm.
possibly amend ours to include a section or two of that.
Yeah.
There's, and going hand in hand with that is LAB 1400, which is the safety rules,
Mhm.
or what's required for programs, which I think I gave you just
You
what
did give me,
the
yeah,
DOT ones.
Yeah, you did,
Which might be helpful for developing them, which probably should go to
because
joint
ours
loss.
covered a lot of it, it really did,
Well, you actually, I mean, if labor came in here and they're gonna say, okay, where's your your policy or program on, confined space, like, you know, someone crawling into a dumpster at the transfer station, you know, one of the roll-offs, that's confined space. Where is that, do we have one?
mm-mm,
There you go.
and that's under the rule 1400,
Oh, yeah. stuff like that. That's where I gave you all that information with the DOT, I mean, there's no sense reinventing the wheel, I mean, just take and modify it to fit Dunbarton's situation, but I mean, back in 2000, the DOT got hammered with a citation from the Department of Labor for exactly that same kind of thing. And it's taken us a lot of years where we've created all those programs, safety programs for that purpose. So, that used to be my past life as a safety environmental coordinator.
But we digress.
Yes.
What do we do?
Well, that's for the joint loss rep. So,
So we're gonna communicate so that we can get measurements.
I'm gonna ask for clarification on what is new versus existing, list of materials and measurements,
Okay.
okay? Anything else?
Okay, so I think that was.
And in the meantime, I'll try to reach out and get quotes from qualified builders who might be interested in reviewing the final plan of this project, if I,
well, I can review this, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and have them submit their, references, so you can check
references,
them out.
insurance, equipment, prior projects of scope and similar design.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
Alright,
But I wouldn't have them give you a quote on looking at this,
No,
yeah, I would
well,
have
no,
them
no.
try to price it.
okay?
No.
Because
just interest,
what'll happen
Okay.
is if you decide it sounds pretty good,
okay, get,
and then they get one drawing with the measurements, and the measurements are bigger than the measurements that they were using, they're gonna wanna charge them extra.
Right,
okay, so I just wanna ask them if they're interested in
interest.
quoting on this.
but to become qualified as a bidder.
Yeah, I mean, we need.
That's really what we're going through, is a pre-qualification process.
Okay,
There's no money numbers or anything that taking
Right.
place, it's just strictly what's the, you know,
What did you do for work, and
Yeah.
who were your customers?
okay, so I'll just say if you're interested in
If you're
this,
interested, yep.
we'd like, references, insurance, equipment, and prior projects of scope
Yep.
and similar design.
Yep.
And then I'll explain that the final plan to follow with dimensions and,
now is he gonna put together, I don't remember our contract with him, but is he putting together any type of bid documents on this, or is it just strictly plans?
I have to look at the plan.
I know he said something about a report, but I don't know if that report included like bid documents or not. Or just if you could write up some general, you know, like we put in our appendix A, which is just the general terms and conditions, is all the previous stuff, but appendix A is usually the specifics to the project.
So for these quotes that I'll be getting at a later time, you want it in a bid format?
Well, not necessarily, I mean, I'm just wondering if Joel's gonna put together any type of documentation for us to take and put out there
I don't think,
Like we did with the,
with
the
Tempe.
roof, Tepe, yeah.
So, I don't know, I mean, if he's not, that's fine, I just didn't know.
I have to look at his contracts.
Yeah, I don't remember,
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
don't recall
was
either.
asking.
I don't think it did, I think it was just to size up what needed to be done.
Well, I know he's someone issuing a report, I don't know if that report was gonna be, include that kind of language or not, I mean, we can make it up ourselves.
Where did I have in that response from that email? Is that
It's
down
over
there?
here.
Does it, I
Yes,
asked
it
him
is.
that question, if there was a,
They said there's no report unless you want one. So,
I
I'm sure he'll give you whatever you want if you want to spend the money.
hey, yeah, pay, pay.
Yeah.
Okay,
no, I mean, if it's already accounted for, then let's grab it, if it's not,
Right,
then
if
we'll
it's
go
not, then
twice
pass
the
on it,
limit.
right.
So, alrighty, anything else for the good of the order on, the town hall roof?
No, I'm good.
I think we're making headway.
Yep.
Gonna return this,
I think so.
want this back?
Yeah, I'm gonna have them available in the office if anybody needs to look at them here, and then I'll email them to the individual.
They may
email.
come in, you know, somebody might come in and want to look
Yeah,
Absolutely.
at it anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, that's the only thing on the agenda, so we're gonna go, we got, these notes, I don't think we, just did that. Transfer station part-time employees, stipend,
That's non-public?
yep, exactly, do that. So, mailbox, unless unless you got some stuff that you wanna go over, you said it was a busy week, so, or a crazy week, I don't know what was crazy about it.
Well, I had, a joint loss meeting on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
The auditor was here for about 9 hours on Tuesday. I did attend the, zoning board meeting just as, an observer for performance. I met with, Ken Swayze and Steve for a meeting to discuss the project at hand that was, discussed at your planning board meeting last night.
I don't know, I wasn't there.
You weren't, we
No,
had,
I played hooky, unfortunately, I got wrapped up with something and I just couldn't get
I
out
had
of it.
a brief, 45-minute webinar with Pam on, reconciling.
Oh,
She'll be meeting with me tomorrow, we're gonna do it one-on-one together.
now
I
using
think she-
DSMI?
Yep.
So is she on board 100% yet?
No, it's not that easy, trust me, but she's willing to sit down with me, so that's what
Good.
we're gonna do. I've been out to the transfer station twice this week, Tuesday night I went, yesterday night, Wednesday night I stopped in, to just check in, I've asked Woody to install a overnight box, and I've
Oh, they
asked,
came in?
yep, it's come in, and, took a look around, just checked in with the
Mm.
guys, I just wanted to get familiar with them, with seeing me and
Yep.
whatnot.
Good
And
idea.
then Woody told me today that he was able to schedule, an interview and asked me to join him today, so I scrambled down there. And then when I got back, Central New Hampshire was waiting for me, Matt Monahan, for that, hazmat, what is that,
Hazard mitigation?
no, the long list that I gave them of,
The
potential
brown thing?
brownfield.
Oh, brown,
Yes. So we went over every single item that I had presented to them, I showed them some of them,
Oh, I
I
haven't
had
seen
my,
that list, I know we helped you put together a
Yeah.
preliminary one, I don't know if you added any more after that or not.
just one more after that, so there was all told about, 11 or 12 that I gave them.
Really?
And they were very impressed, so they the gentleman that was there from the Brownfield, he was, basically saying that it's typically something that, they would prioritize to the top of the level if it were something, for example, if it was a lien, now think about what I'm saying, if it was a property that's gonna be liened, and the town was gonna have to take it, and it could be a problem, is there that type of site that would be something that the town didn't wanna take, and that this would
We got a couple
rise,
like that.
yes, so then we went over all the others, the existing, gas station, the old gas station, the, old gas station here, the fuel pumps, the location, so we really went on over every single one of them. They have a meeting tonight at Central New Hampshire, so they were gonna, look at all the different, so, he was glad to see that we responded so quickly and gave us a pretty hefty list to consider or just look at, so
Good.
that was good. So I've been pretty busy with,
Okay.
a lot of different things.
Now, before we dive into this, anything else for the mind that you wanted to get over?
Nope. Not that I can think of, I did put my request for leave in there.
Oh, yeah, we already decided to deny.
Yeah.
And everything else I have to talk about has to be done in
So
October.
you're not here next week then, right?
No,
In
we
2
will.
weeks.
2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks from now.
Well then, mailbox, Margaret Watkins, Town Hall Restoration Committee. We got a note here saying that they'd like to update us on our progress, asking people, they've been asking people, some said yes, some said no. By end of June, should have an interested and varied committee identified, be back in touch, so.
Just an update, I asked her how
Yeah.
she was progressing with that, so.
They looking, when they say in June, coming to see us in the end of June, or probably wait till July?
I told her that we're on the summer schedule, so she would work with us.
Okay, because I didn't know if we should expect them on the 30th, cause I know we're turning that into a work session unless we have a lot of
I'll make
business.
sure I get some information to her.
You already seen that,
Right,
that's for you.
Alright.
Speaking of, alright, annual leave for the 27th through the 1st. See any reason why we shouldn't?
Absolutely. You going away?
No,
No.
my son and my grandkids are gonna be in
Oh,
town
cool.
with his wife, so,
We'll enjoy.
yeah,
Absolutely,
do some camping.
enjoy it. You've earned it,
What were the dates again, please?
27th through the 1st.
1st of July?
Yes. Concord Monitor, right to know request for Dunbarton, this is becoming a thorn in everybody's side by the looks of it, by some of the emails.
Yeah, that was very time consuming, I spent all Monday on it,
So it's
It's
all
done.
done.
I've got it done, I've sent it to him.
Could you send a CC to us, so we just,
Mhm.
out of curiosity,
Yeah, sure,
sure you might
Yeah.
wanna know?
Yeah.
I'd be kinda curious to see what you.
I was surprised with the attorney's response to that, because my understanding is that you don't have to create
Mhm.
a document if it doesn't exist. Well, what I had that existed was a payroll
Mhm.
earnings report,
Right.
and it left it at that.
Mhm.
But what he was asking was for rate of pay from 2015, rate of pay from 2016. So our town attorney recommended that just add those things to your
Mhm.
list.
Yeah,
So
I
I could
see.
export it into an Excel, and I had to modify it, take out social security numbers and things like that, so it was time consuming.
Yeah.
And then for him to say he wanted the mailing addresses of all the employees,
Yeah,
it's
no
like,
way.
I said, she gave me, he quoted one, you saw the
Yeah.
email, he quoted, something versus
Yeah, so-
Atkin, whatever.
Yep.
And she came back and said that, that, she wasn't even familiar with that case.
Yeah, it was ancient.
But she
history
gave another case, but of course, the one that she referenced was
For school.
for school related. So he came back again, and of course, I'm not the expert here. So when she replied back, I said, this is it. I
Mhm.
said, every time you ask me for something, I said, I'm not an expert in this position. I have to consult with the town attorney, I'm not gonna spend any more money.
Mhm.
And I haven't heard from them. I haven't heard that,
Well, going to her email, none of the towns are giving them that information anyway.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I would agree with her, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what you gentlemen think, but she said if,
I mean, if he really wants it, he can do
He
a
can solicit the
Google
release.
search and
Yeah.
find the
Yeah.
information that way, but I didn't think it was appropriate for me
yeah,
to
no.
include a mailing
I
address.
think
of all.
our employees are entitled to some privacy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I think that's just overstretching their request.
Yeah,
So anyway, so it's all said and done,
all done.
great. And hopefully we'll hear the end of it from,
Yeah, hopefully, because unfortunately, some of these things that come through, there aren't too many people that can get all the pieces
and we still
together,
don't know
so
what
it's
it's for,
just,
do we? I mean, he asked every town and school district in Merrimack County.
that's what he said. I only heard from town attorney who represents another town, that she responded to both of us at the same time,
Yeah.
saying, you guys both asked me this question, so I'm CCing you both. But it's just.
Do we know if our school got asked this question?
I don't know, I don't have time to find out, I really,
I didn't know if maybe it was offered up.
So they split the cost between the two towns?
Yeah,
I'm
Should.
a-
Yeah, we gotta keep track of it. Hey, did you keep track of your time, how much time you put to this? Out of curiosity.
Well, it was a full day on Monday, and I left after 5, and I started on Friday, and I got a little, no, actually started on Thursday, and I got a little bit perturbed about it, so I just said, I responded saying when I could potentially have it, and I put it away, because it just
Yeah.
was interfering with everything else.
Haven't done it. We've got Overlook Estates pre-construction meeting notes. Anybody's interested? Okay, Laura Spector regarding, okay, this is the phasing permits. I think she sent, right?
yeah, that was in an email.
Alright, sorry. Article 4, section after Dunbarton zoning ordinance regarding phasing of building permits appears to be a defect of growth management ordinance which was adopted in 2003. Without following statutory requirements, Dunbarton Board of Selectmen will not enforce that provision of zoning ordinance and will ask the planning board to present the 2017 town meeting amendment to the zoning ordinance to eliminate this provision. So this is our policy.
I think that's what she's
So we're
recommending.
not looking to put it into like a full-fledged, complete policy, but it's just a policy.
No, just to maybe make a motion that we not enforce, I think that's what, is that
Well,
what I?
what about any other part of the zoning ordinance that is not, properly statutorily adopted?
Well,
Do we have any other portions of it? I'm trying to remember.
well, I think that's a job of the planning board to look at the
Right.
whole document to determine that.
I would agree.
But I think what we've been facing lately, things have been implemented by the Board of Selectmen. This one here happens to be the enforcement of the Board of Selectmen, but it's not an enforceable, policy, or enforceable ordinance, basically, so.
Yeah, no,
She's asking the selectmen not to act on what is in our zoning.
well, then, you know, wanna put it into our minutes and take care of it now and get it done? You want to kick it around some more?
Because potentially what is happening right now, Bob, is we have a 23 lot subdivision? 22 lot subdivision.
Overall
And if we
mistakes.
have to impose this, they can only have 8 permits a year, is that what it is,
Yes.
Brian?
Yep.
And they're moving along so quickly with the project of the road bed and the rest of the project, that they could potentially get to that point where they're ready to start getting their building permits and exceed 8 before the 12 months are up. It's not likely, but
Not likely.
that's the only project that we can see that's on the horizon right now. That is moving quickly, and,
So this would slow that process. They could
We-
have 8 a year.
we can't enforce it. It's in our zoning and we can't enforce it.
enforce
it. So we
So you can
could-
either do nothing and take a case by case as it comes along.
Because we could enforce it, but then we just get sued.
Right.
In lose in court, and
Right.
Right.
there you go.
Yeah.
If they.
Why are
were
we in
so-
this situation? Was it not
It's in our
adopted
zoning,
correctly?
correct.
Yeah, in 2003, they got put in the zoning, I don't know how, I don't recall.
I think there were a whole bunch of communities that did the same thing,
Yes.
trying to limit growth.
Right,
Cause
right.
everyone was
Yeah,
seeing the
yeah.
boom coming, and
Yeah.
then 2007 hit,
Yeah, and it all fell apart.
so.
So technically, this isn't enforceable anyways, cause we could
Correct.
be challenged,
Right.
we could be
Right.
sued.
Right.
So this is just
Right.
us basically putting on the record that we're not gonna enforce it, and
Right,
And
and
just-
if you do nothing, then each one of these cases will have to come before the board by the building department, saying, we've reached an 8, and our zoning says
right.
to cap it at that 8.
So is are the zoning people working on correcting this?
Yes, okay.
That will be the
Yes.
language, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Alright,
it's
okay.
it's in my binder from 2017.
Alright.
Yep.
And does the town have to vote on that, or
Yes.
they do?
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's a,
Is it
that's
a
warrant article
ballot,
kind of
a
thing?
ballot,
Actually, it's on
Ballot.
ballot, yeah.
ballot, yeah.
Town meeting ballot.
Alright. Okay,
Alright then, well, I'll make a motion that given that Article 4, Section F of the Dunbarton zoning ordinance regarding phasing of building permits appears to be a de facto growth management ordinance which was adopted in 2003 without following the statutory requirements, the Dunbarton Board of Selectmen will not enforce that provision of the zoning ordinance and will ask the planning board to present to the 2017 town meeting an amendment to the zoning ordinance to eliminate this provision. We'll get you a copy so you can put it in the minutes. Verbatim.
I'll stop writing.
Is there a second?
yeah, I'll second it.
Alright, we got a motion and a second, is there any more discussion on this?
The only thing is, so,
This,
uh,
this will be a memo that'll get sent to the building department saying that the selectmen are not going to enforce this
okay,
cap
yeah.
on the building.
and if we did nothing,
If we have
At
no,
all.
If they were doing their job, they would have to stop at 8 and either come to the
okay, they
selectmen,
would have,
or they would deny the 9th permit, and then that person would come forward to the selectmen and say, hey, you can't enforce this, and do it up, do it all over again then.
we only got one subdivision that's going in right now, but we have more on the books, if something happens to turn around real quick, it could happen before 2017, we could have more. Chances are slim to none, but it's possible.
well, we're getting closer to where, the voters can make a decision too.
Mhm.
So I suppose I can support that, cause chances are, we're not gonna have to do anything. You probably might see 8 houses at the most,
Yeah.
and you might see less.
We're
Every time
already,
they get their road in and everything like that, they'd have to be going full bore with.
yeah, the
a
road
couple
has to be
teams.
accepted, and we will have to have, at this stage, they're working at risk, they've provided the bond, they can get 1 house building permit
Mhm.
if they really wanted to push it.
Right.
But other than that, they're gonna be before you to have the road accepted at a public hearing between now and the time
Probably
they're
this
done.
fall, I
Yeah.
would think.
Right, and they're not gonna build unless they have them all sold. they're not
Yeah.
gonna
Well, the
probably
road's gonna-
build 8
yeah.
houses, so.
Right.
correct, yeah,
You
not
know,
likely.
chances are,
Mhm.
they're gonna start to develop it, so it could take some time, and people
Yeah.
could get a chance to weigh in.
Mhm.
At the same time, I suppose this town doesn't stand the opportunity of being sued.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got enough lawsuits going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, no problem.
Alright, any more discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cool. Speaking of lawsuits, we've got the Souls going on right now.
Mhm.
They filed an objection to our motion to dismiss.
Mhm.
Motion to dismiss, did you get that electronically?
No, yes, that's the one that's on the top of that,
Not the objection, but the motion that what our lawyer put together,
I can't recall, I have to look.
'cause I haven't seen it, I know it's the,
The
What?
thick one you're talking
Yeah.
about? I can't recall.
yeah, I
I'll
don't know
have to
where, I
check.
mean, you pulled it out somewhere and you had it
It was,
there.
we got it in the mail, so that's
Okay.
the mail copy.
Alright, it'd be just nice to be able to kinda read it and see where we're
Yeah.
at.
I'll email it.
That's the only lawsuit, right?
Yeah, I think we're just preparing our records, for Kelsey Road, but
Yeah.
there's been no actions at all.
And the next meeting, we're gonna turn, after the initial business, turn to a work session to review the Kelsey Road
Yeah.
documents, we're all on board with that, right?
Yep.
Yep, and I have a few other little things for you guys to do in case that doesn't take long.
Oh, it is plenty of crap there.
Yeah.
Give me this mountain of paper there. Oh,
I
God.
thought it might be a good time to do a building inspection based on our joint loss.
Mhm.